Ironically, the thing that people are the most hungry for, meaning, is the one thing that science hasn't been able to give them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, it's like you're saying that science killed God. What if science simply revealed that he never existed in the first place?
I think we're gonna need to get some air.
What?
And a few more of these.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whew. A little chilly out here.
Yeah, this is nice.
I got one for you.
What do you got?
Occam's Razor. You've ever heard of it?
Occam's Razor. It sounds like some slasher movie.
No, Occam's Razor. It's a basic scientific principle. And it says, all things being equal, the simplest explanation tends to be the right one.
Makes sense to me.
All right. So what's more likely? Thank you.
You're welcome.
An all-powerful, mysterious God created the universe and then decided not to give any proof of his existence. Or that he simply doesn't exist at all, and that we created him so we wouldn't have to feel so small and alone.
I don't know. I couldn't imagine living in a world where God didn't exist, you know? I wouldn't want to.
How do you know you're not deluding yourself? I mean, for me, I need proof.
Proof. Did you love your father?
What?
Your dad, did you love him?
Yes, very much.
Prove it.
On in expressing thanks for your patience, Dr. Arroway. We've all been most impressed with your candor and your stamina. I believe we are ready to move on to your final statement.
Madam Chairman, I have one more question.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
Dr. Arroway, would you consider yourself a spiritual person?
I don't really understand the point of the question. I consider myself a moral person.
I'm sure we all agree that is the case, but I think what Mr. Joss is in fact asking...
Do you believe in God, Dr. Arroway?
As a scientist, I rely on empirical evidence, and in this matter, I don't believe that there is data either way.
So your answer would in fact be that you don't believe in God?
I don't understand the relevance of the question.
Dr. Arroway, 95% of the world's population believes in a supreme being in one form or another. I believe that makes the question more than relevant.
Dr. Arroway?
I believe, I've already answered that question.
I'm proud of what we've achieved as a species and as a civilization. I would hate to see everything we stand for, all that we have fought for 1,000 generations, all that God has blessed us with, betrayed in the final hour because we chose to send a representative who did not put our most cherished beliefs first. Thank you.
Why'd you do it?
Our job was to select someone to speak for everybody. I just couldn't in good conscience vote for a person who doesn't believe in God. Someone who honestly thinks the other 95% of us suffer from some form of mass delusion.
I told the truth up there, and Drumlin told you exactly what you wanted to hear.
Used to investigate the idea that maybe the globe and space is just as fake as Cro-Magnon man and evolution and everything else. And when you get into the whole UFO alien topic, it's funny because it sort of highlights a lot of these issues too, where he's talking about how it's just so many of these planets are just too far away, just to reach the nearest star from Earth, according to the Copernican model. Traveling at light speed would still take multiple generations of people. So it's just you're separated by so much distance that the idea that there's visitors from other planets is obviously seemingly impossible. But that it's that whole distant starlight problem that comes back around and kind of bites Copernican creationists in the butt, because when the primary focus of so many of these ministries is combating evolution and combating even theistic evolution and old age creationism, right? And that's a big sticking point, which I think is interesting in how much it sort of mirrors, it's sort of parallel to the same sort of dialogue and debate that we're having now with cosmology, going, okay, so an old Earth creationist and a young Earth creationist, you're both creationists, right? So at the end of the day, you both claim to believe the Bible, and a lot of old Earth creationists still believe in Jesus and the cross and the gospel, but no, as young Earth creationists, we say no. The Bible doesn't actually support that. You're trying to conform the Bible to a fallacy, a scientific fallacy of evolution and all these millions and billions of years. And that matters. That makes a difference. That has an impact. Even if you are professing still faith in Christ and still professing a belief in God and want to attach God to evolution, it's still not true. You're still allowing massive cracks in the foundation to form, and eventually it's going to crumble. So that's the crux of the debate between old Earth creationism and young Earth creationism. And in reality, the cosmology debate, the whole thing about flat Earth versus the Copernican model, in some ways could just be seen as an extension of that, really, by way of acknowledging the fact that you cannot separate these vast distances of outer space from vast expanses of time. And that's the catch-22 that modern young Earth creationists who are Copernican, I need to find a shorthand, YECC, young Earth Copernican creationists? I don't know. So people who believe in space, and you're trying to take a 6,000 or a 10,000 year old creation, a cosmos that is in the thousands of years, and then explain how there is starlight coming from millions of light years away, which should take millions of years to cover that distance. And so, of course, you have all these kind of convoluted arguments about God creating starlight in transit or whatever, or changing the laws of physics at the beginning when he was creating in the creation week and all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, you have to come up with something to tweak it so that to get around the fact that, like, if everything just worked the way you say it worked, then those millions of years really exist. You have the expanses of time and the expanses of distance are inseparable, right? So you have to separate them somehow. You have to break that, law of physics that they believe in, which is the speed of light and all of that. And it really all just comes back to evolution, of course. And so we have that in common, right? We we agree with creation.com and with Gary Bates on probably more than we disagree. And that I think is what sometimes gets frustrating with all the debate over flat earth and cosmology, is that sometimes all we can do is you just see people throwing stones at each other and just getting very angry, and I feel it too. When in many of his talks he talks about how he was such a Apollo fan, and he got to go to Kennedy Space Center, and it was like just this amazing experience. And it's just like, they're still still dazzled by the NASA propaganda and all that, and it's hard to listen to that. I get it. But I think what over time will chip away at those sort of negative perceptions of all these crazy, zealous, angry, self-righteous flat earthers, which I know is how we're perceived and how we're painted, and sometimes that's somewhat accurate. Okay, but if in the long run, if those of us who are embracing like true biblical literalism and going back to Genesis and affirming that yes, it matters what it says about not just 6 literal days, but that the sun, moon, and stars are in the firmament and that there is water above the firmament, and we just take it literally in every conceivable way, that this matters, and it matters because of the way it shapes our theology and the way it shapes our understanding of the world that we live in now, including things like the UFO deception and how that is part of the broader, greater deception, the spiritual deception, which is the Mystery Babylon religion, like Carolyn Hamlet was saying there at the beginning. I don't know how many years ago she made that quote, but it was a great quote. And how the UFOs, they get people into the paranormal and into the metaphysics, right? And how physics is going to be used to get people into metaphysics. And we see that happening like all over the place. And people embracing one form or another of this quantum spirituality. And of course, the aliens are all a part of that, right? The alien deception, it's all about them somehow having higher advanced knowledge and advanced technology, and whatever's at the bottom of this quantum technology, this quantum interdimensional mysticism, the aliens obviously are going to be perceived to have already mastered that, and they're going to be the custodians of this higher knowledge, these higher teachings, these higher metaphysics. So that's really the significance of, it's just the watchers all over again, the bestowers of the wisdom. It's just the repackaged watchers idea. But that's why outer space is a key component of that rebranding of the watchers in their advanced knowledge, right? Because now, before they were angels, or they were gods who came out of the sky. So it's just now they're gods who come from, a planet far, far away. So that's my little rant about creationism and UFOs and cosmology. To wrap it up, though, I want to just play this video that somebody sent me a link to. This is somebody put this together from a presentation by this atheist called Frank Zindler, and this was from 1993. Okay, so 1993, this atheist is talking about how the Bible's been disproven and Christianity has been debunked because of science, and he goes into the cosmology of the Bible. And indeed, how if science has proven otherwise, why that does take apart the Bible. So again, truth matters, cosmology matters, Genesis matters, the Bible matters. It's all a big domino.